Hello. Don't know how I feel about this angle. I'm trying out a new background, which is me in front of my bed. This is my bedside table. Maybe I'll do a little bedside table tour to start. So we've got my current read, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Started at the 1st of October. Focus please. So I always find that really satisfying. And then Dr. Sleep, which is the second Shining, which I'm planning to read ASAP. This is a print by Ellie Kakuli on Instagram. I love her, she's so nice, and I just thought it was really cute, and sunflowers are my favourite flower. Little Booby Lady by my friend Freya, which features some of my tats and then others that I want. Hello. I thought I'd reshoot that bit because you can't really see this really cute part. There we go, that's in focus. So my friend made this pot which features some of my tattoos and then others that I want. So I have these two on my leg. This is a little tarot card. I don't know if you can see the detailing on that. Yeah, so I really want this tattoo and she's added that on there. This is a little cherub that I want. I have this on my arm. Nice little like barbed wire. 3 Witches of Macbeth, which I'm obsessed with. I have this cute little moon on my arm. And then nice little, don't know if you guys know Matt Bailey on Instagram, but I love him. And this is a little skeleton hand grabbing my bum. So, cute little boob pot. Bit of a side note, and has nothing to do with books, but yeah, so I always have that on my bedside table. I'm gonna keep with the angle. Hope you guys like my new jumper. It's from Topshop. This kind of, let me prop you guys back up again. Prop you up with The Shining. No, Dr. Sleep. Cool. Welcome to my August wrap up. This is my favourite time of the month. Just love talking about books. I bought a lot of books this month as well, so stay tuned for a little book haul. We got some Stephen King, retro 80s covers, and then yesterday I popped into Waterstones because I've been self-isolating because I came back from France, and this was my first trip out, and got some exciting bits. Not usually my kind of books as well, so very excited. Let's get cracking. Open up the Goodreads. I actually read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I read 12 books this month. 12! That is insane. That is the most I swear I read 17 books last year, so I don't think you even realise, like, I don't understand how this happened. I went away, I guess I had a week off work. I went home, so I basically I read like 4 books while I was there because there was nothing else to do. So I guess that's where it stemmed from, but pretty impressive. Well done me. Don't think I'll ever reach that record again. So yeah, so let's get started. The first book I read this month is The Shining by Stephen King. One of my all-time favourite covers. Annoying thing is the carpet described in the book is not like in the film, and they've kind of gone with the film like carpet, but side note, doesn't actually matter. So I gave this a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favourite books. I read it when I was maybe I was 12, and it's so good to reread books because I feel like I got so much more out of it this time around. I understood a lot more of what was going on, like the undertones, and I actually watched The Shining after I read this, and I was like, this film is so bad. And I really wish I didn't feel like that, but there was so much depth to Jack's character. I don't know if you guys know this. So basically the story is, this little kid, Danny Torrance, has something called The Shining. So he has like visions and he can just see what's going on. He has like he can read people's thoughts. And then his dad, who's an alcoholic and who was used to be a professor and then he got fired because he like attacked this kid because he has really bad anger issues. Moves into the Overlook Hotel and he becomes the caretaker, and then obviously all this weird shit starts happening. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing the world through Danny's eyes as well, because I think in the film you don't see what's going on in his head, obviously, because it's a film. But there was just so much depth to the characters, and what was his name again? The one that's, yeah, Halloran. Halloran the chef. I just really enjoyed how these 4 characters work together, and 4 characters. So yeah, obviously I fully recommend, if you want to start with Stephen King, if you've never read him, I always recommend either The Shining. Pet Sematary is a bit too scary, a bit too gross maybe. So yeah, I think The Shining is a really good place to start. So yeah, 5 out of 5. Then the next book I read, I have been wanting to moan about this book for a whole month, and the time has finally come. What is wrong with everyone? Okay, that's not fair. Everybody has an opinion, but I absolutely hated this book. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I am not usually a fan of thrillers, of mysteries. I find it a bit overdone. I find it very like beach ready, they're easy reads. But I just thought this one has gotten so much hype, I had to read it. And I absolutely hated it. Do you know what? I looked back on Goodreads today and I gave it a 3 out of 5, like on the thing, and then I wrote 2.5, and I was like, no, this is more like a 1.5/2. So I've changed my rating. All the women that are written in this novel are one-dimensional. They're all bitches. He all just comments on their looks. They've always have to have something to do with their looks. And then the main character is so unlikable. And like, I'm not going to give anything away, but it just made the whole reading it was just horrible. Like, I hated reading it. I read it in like 2 days because I just wanted it to be over. Yeah, so I don't recommend this book. It's an easy read. The mystery was like alright. I was like, oh, okay. Explains a lot, but still don't like how you've written this book. And the only good thing is like chapters are like 2 pages, which is always good for my attention span, which is really bad. Side note, I wanted to do like a stack like picture, because I usually read half my books in audiobooks, but I only read 2 audiobooks this month. So I read like 10 physical books. Just wanted to show you like how many that is. Oh, that was a bit of a spoiler for how many I read. But yeah, so that was cool. And the next book I read is actually an audiobook. It was I Am Not Your Baby Mother by Candice Brathwaite. This was amazing. I think everybody should read this book. I don't usually like books about motherhood. Just because I'm like, don't know if I want kids, don't find it that interesting. Like, it's usually women in like their 30s that talk about it. But she just uses motherhood to talk about racism in Britain, and it just makes you realise, well, it doesn't make you realise, I know, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's not as bad in Britain. Actually, it's just not said as much, and it's a lot more subdued, racism here. So really interesting to hear like a British black woman discuss how she's experienced racism in the UK through motherhood. So like, black British women are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than white British women, which is just a shocking stat, and nobody can give her an answer of why that is. So she talks about, I think she had eclampsia, I'm not sure, in her pregnancy. So like, all these issues happened and nobody believed her that she was ill. They were like, oh, it's normal. She just was never given a voice. And then she just talks about raising like a black kid in London because of knife crime. She talks about her daughter's confidence, like the racism her daughter's experienced herself and how hard it is for her, and like how angry she is. And the interesting thing is, she's married to a Nigerian man, and obviously he's the majority in his country. So he's like, she was saying that she really struggles with being married to a man where he's the majority. He's always been the majority. So he's like a black man in Nigeria, that's the majority then. Sometimes you just wouldn't believe, like, he just said she'd make stuff up. Not in a horrible way, but he's like, oh, no, that doesn't happen. So she said through her children, actually, he realised what racism in Britain was. So such a good book, and she narrates it herself, the audiobook. So I'd recommend getting the audiobook, actually. I probably will buy the physical copy at some point, but yeah. And then the next book I read was, finally, Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This was a 5 out of 5. Oh, I didn't mention I Am Not Your Baby Mother was also 5 out of 5. This was a 5 out of 5. This won the Booker Prize in 2019 along with The Testaments and Margaret Atwood. It's about 12 very different women. I shouldn't say women actually, just 12 very different people in Britain, and they're all black women. And it's just honestly, I was like, basically it reads like verse fiction, so it felt like poetry the whole time, and originally the lack of punctuation really put me off. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna like it, hence why I put it off for so long. But I was so wrong. I devoured this book. I just want to reread it. I'm obsessed with it. I think about it still, even though I read it maybe like 3.5 weeks ago. So yeah, I don't even know what else to say about it. Just like, I hope it wins the Women's Prize for Fiction, which gets an out soon. Sorry, that's my leg. Yeah, my favourite story was either Yaz's or Letitia's story. So basically chapter 1 and 2, they're split in this way. Sorry if this is kind of boring, but there's 4 chapters and there's 3 women that are linked in the chapters, and then she all links them at the end in one chapter. So the first 2 chapters were my favourite, but obviously they were all amazing. So yeah, 5 out of 5, fully recommend. It's for everyone. Then the next book I read was, I try and do a Jane Austen read a month until I finish all her novels, because I think it's shocking that I lived in Bath and that I've never read Jane Austen. So I'm on the 4th one. This is the 4th book I've read, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is a really cool vintage cover. It actually took me a long time to realise there were 2 faces there. I just feel like I was looking past it. This was really good. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, just because I didn't love it as much as her others. So I've been comparing them to each other, which I don't know if that's a good thing to do. But yeah, it's about, I like the fact that there were 2 heroines, 2 sisters, Eleanor and Marianne Dashwood. And it's all about how one is sense, one is sensibility. So Eleanor represents sense and then Marianne represents sensibility. And it's about their 2 parallel kind of love lives. I loved their mum. I just really enjoyed the depth to the story through 2 main characters. It wasn't just one that's looking for love, that's looking for marriage. It's like, that's still present and it's still there. But I think their relationship as sisters was really important, and their communication was really important. And I actually, with a lot of Jane Austen, I can kind of guess like what's going on, but with this I was literally like, what is going on? Like, why is this happening? So I was really intrigued, but I did find it hard to read at times, so I used the audiobook just to get through it, because sometimes I was like, this is a bit of a drag, but when I look back on it I really enjoyed it. So I don't really know what that says about me. So yeah, recommend to anybody. I feel like this is a classic, and I feel like everybody should read classics. Anyway, so then the next book I read was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. Yeah, really like this cover actually, but see, I thought this would be a bit of a beach read, like, focus please, kind of bit trashy maybe, and because the show was coming out on Amazon Prime, I was like, I want to read the book before I watch the show. So I just started reading it, and it was just amazing. Like, I really loved it. It's about this woman called Mia Warren and her daughter Pearl, and they move into this neighbourhood called Shaker Heights, which this is set in the US. And it's like the perfect neighbourhood, like beautiful houses, wealth everywhere. And it's the tension between the woman who lets her the house, Elena Richardson, and Mia, and like their 2 kind of lives. And then Elena kind of becomes obsessed with finding out about Mia because she's infiltrated her life, which she kind of has. And Mia's very mysterious, and the way that there's like an underpin of mystery, but it's not about Mia's backstory. And it was just written beautifully, and I watched the show, and the show's very different, but it deals with a lot of issues that are relevant today that maybe weren't as relevant in 2017 when this was written, because they made Mia black, so they dealt with racism a lot more in the show, whereas here it was more like about wealth and class and the differences. And so yeah, very good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I actually didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did. So easy read, fun read, and especially after Sense and Sensibility I thought I wanted something just kind of easy, so this fit the bill. So yeah, very good. Then the next book I read was Bonjour Tristesse by Françoise Sagan. So this is actually the first book
I found this on the web.
Oh. Thanks, Siri. That actually looked up Sagan. But anyway, so this is the first novel I've read in French this year. I need to do this more. I'm actually French, if you didn't know, if you're not one of my friends watching. And it was beautifully written. I've wanted to read this for ages, and it's just really short, really easy to read. I've read it in like a day and a half, which I'm actually really happy about, because French takes me so long to read because I've forgotten a lot of words because I've been here for so long. So yeah, it's about a girl called Cécile. She's 17, and it's her summer, and it's just her and her dad. Her mum died when she was young, and her dad's like this womanizer, and it's about how she deals with her dad's new girlfriend when she comes to visit them in the south of France, and about her own like first experience of sex and her relationship with her father, her relationship with other people. It's a lot of self-reflection, and it was just to be fair, she wrote this when she was 17, and you can kind of tell, but it was just beautiful prose. Not much else to say about it really. Like, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it was good. It was good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Don't know how it would read in English. I think it might come across as quite pretentious. The language is quite pretentious, but I feel like because I'm reading it in French and it was written in the 50s, I'm like... Also, the protagonist is 17, so I'm like, she's allowed to be a bit self-indulgent and pretentious. But yeah, cool. Little cute novel. Then I read... I feel like I've either loved or hated the books this month. I read The Colorado Kid by Stephen King. Is that focusing? Sorry, you can kind of see the reflection of the window. This was a 2 out of 5. I'm not gonna lie, this is the time when don't judge a book by its cover. Fucking sick cover. I love it so much. I actually have... Oh, I don't have it near me. They've written another one called Joyland. Stephen King has written another one called Joyland with a really cool cover. So I was like, this is going to be a really cool like murder mystery thriller thing. Quite short, and I was like, this will be fun. So I read this when I was ill. It was terrible. I hated all the characters. There were only 3. It's like these 2 journalists and their like protege. And they're telling me about this mystery that happened in this little island in Maine. But there's no conclusion. The execution of the story was pretty shit. And then it just kind of ended. So I was like, And Stephen King at the end said, you either love it or hate it, and thoroughly didn't like it. So I just don't really have anything else to say really. Just don't read this book. It's boring as fuck. But again, very short, so easy to read. Then I read The Mothers by Brit Bennett. This was... I almost want to cry like thinking back on it. I was so attached to the characters in this book, especially Luke and Nadia. So it's called The Mothers because it deals with abortion, fertility issues, like losing your mother, the mothers from the church, like older mothers. It just deals with so much to do with motherhood, but not in a direct way. And it goes from the ages of like when Nadia's 17 and she meets Luke and they kind of in love, but no one really knows about their relationship, and then she falls pregnant, and she just... This happens in like the first chapter. She decides to have an abortion, and then it's all the implications of that, how he feels about it, how he's struggling with it. Like there's a big presence of religion, obviously. So I read The Vanishing Half in June, I think, maybe July. But this was just... Can't believe this was her debut novel. The prose was just beautiful, and I'm a character, like I need to love the characters to love a book, and literally like the first chapter I already liked Nadia, really invested in what was going on in her life. So Brit Bennett, please write another book. I've already read both yours now. So yeah, and stunning cover. I didn't realise it was a woman's face for a while, so yeah. I gave it a 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5, because I gave The Vanishing Half 5 out of 5, and I liked it slightly more. I just like the characters a bit more, but still. Then the next book I read was Then She Was Gone. I feel like I've read a lot of mystery thrillers types this month, even though I've said I don't like them. But this was an audiobook and it was so good. I enjoyed it because I wasn't guessing about what happened, because you find out quite early on what happened. So basically, it's about this woman called Laurel, and her daughter disappeared 10 years ago and she doesn't know what happened, and it's sort of like you find out what happens to Ellie, her daughter, you find out what happens to Laurel in present day, and the narration was just so gripping and it was really easy. So Laurel's just trying to rebuild her life after her daughter's disappeared. Don't really want to say much else from that, to be honest, but I gave it a 4 out of 5. I was really invested. I don't usually like fiction audiobooks, but this was just fucking brilliant. Like, honestly, really good. I'm gonna read more Lisa Joel. I've never read anything by her before, so I've got all the audiobooks reserved on BorrowBox. So yeah, really good. And then the final book I read was this fucking beast, Sleeping Beauties by Stephen and Owen King. This was a fat book, 715 pages to be exact. It's got some wine on it as well. So looking back, maybe I shouldn't have read this because it is a pandemic. It's around the world something strange is happening to women. They fall asleep to a sleeping virus. So they fall asleep to a sleeping virus. No, they fall victim to a sleeping virus. So basically when women fall asleep, they like become cocooned, and if you wake them up, they become rabid, so they murder whoever's woken them up. Like if you rip the cocoon off. So there's just so much going on, I didn't even know where to start. But yeah, it's a pandemic set in 2017. They talk about Trump, very current. And I thought, but this dealt with feminism like so much more than I thought. Because obviously women are just falling victim to this, and like the men are rising up. And then I feel like Stephen King is really, I don't know if I've not seen this in his books before, maybe because it's a bit more modern, but he really denounces like the patriarchy, and he talks about women, and I don't know how else to describe it. There's so many characters in this book, like honest to God, it starts with like this list of characters, like he spells it out for us. But yeah, I don't know if it's like the influence of his son, but there was just a different element to his writing which I really enjoyed. It was a bit too long. By like page 500 I was like, I kind of want this to end. Very unsatisfying ending, but I thought it was necessary. Yeah, I think I don't know, it deals with like women prisoners, like about the abuse they've suffered from men, deals with like the strong women, like the women who stay awake, like try not to go to sleep. The men in this novel are horrible, like a lot of them are horrible, but he really denounces their flaws and he really gets into it. It's just a really good book actually. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. My mum recommended this to me. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It might be like a 3.75. I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's easier. So yeah, really good book. I finished this yesterday. It's just a bit too long is my only criticism. I don't even know how to begin. Like, guys, like literally, also so many moths in this novel. I love moths. And they're like, every time you burn a cocoon or whatever, moths come out. Moths are everywhere. Like honestly, I swear there's a moth mentioned every chapter. But every chapter is split into like at least like, I don't know if you see like little numbers, then it jumps to like different characters. Like it jumps like to the women's prison, it jumps to the sheriff's office, it jumps to like these random characters, it jumps to like this woman in DC that originally comes from the town. I don't know, it's a special town in West Virginia and all this shit happens. So yeah, recommend. And that was it. My 12 books. Man, I've been talking for a long time. I'm just gonna do like a quick mini book haul because I really want to talk about them. Also, the editions I got of the Stephen King books are fucking cool. I realised I read 3 Stephen King books this month, which is a bit excessive for me. Might read a bit less next month. I don't have a Stephen King on my TBR. I probably will end up reading Doctor Sleep because I really want to, but I might read that in October. You know, all Halloweeny. I'm gonna go into the Stephen King pile first. So I've been betting on eBay for these editions, and yeah, so I got this copy of Firestarter. I've always wanted to read Firestarter. Very cool, very retro. It was worth £1.75. I don't even know if you can see that. Please focus. No. Anyway, yeah, so this edition, I love when like the pages are super yellow. So yeah, this edition was published in 1981. Very cool. Just love like, also like the fire starter bit's a bit shiny, so that's cool. Then I got this really cool edition of Salem's Lot. Creepy as fuck. Scary vampire. I've wanted to read this forever. I think this edition is like 19... Shit. Oh, 1989. I did this last time, I was like, I think this is so much older, but still, very cool. Then I got this really cool copy of Cujo, not read it, shiny as well. It's like a Futura edition. Yeah, Futura Publications. So this is like early 80s. Just love it. I think it's really cool. I think this was like £2, £3. So that's awesome. Then I got, I've already owned this book, but Pet Sematary by Stephen King. It's so cool. Look at it. So retro. I just have to reread it. I just want to read this copy. It's just sick. Like, it's so cool. So yeah, 1999 as well. But I love it. And then I already own this book, but it's back in France, and I read it when I was 11. But I kind of want to reread it. I don't know. It by Stephen King. I really like it. It's creepy as. Look at that. It's completely battered. But you know what? It's an old book. I want a battered book. And look at this guy. What a dude. Love it. So that's my Stephen King haul. And then what I bought yesterday. So I spent some money in Waterstones, but you know what? It was my first day out. I was like, I want to go to a bookshop. So I went. So the first one I got is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I've seen so much about this. Two writers have a love story, and they both got writer's block, and they try and read in each other's style. So buzzing about this one. I want some light reads. I feel like I've had some heavy reads recently. Speaking about heavy reads, got My Name Is Why by Lemsese, I think. Botany and Books on YouTube. No, not YouTube. Instagram. I feel like she's my friend, Talia. She recommended this to me. So I originally wanted this on audiobook, but then I realised there's a lot of his case files that are in the book. So I thought I'd pick it up when it was part of the buy one get one half price deal. And it's about this man's, I don't know much about it, but it's his memoir. And it's how does a government steal a child and then imprison him? How does it keep it a secret? The story is how. So it's set in the UK. Just really intrigued. Like, I really want to read this book. So I'll probably be reading that next month, actually. Quite a small one as well. So yeah, got that one. And then I got Sweet Sorrow by David Nichols. This isn't my usual like read, but it just came out in paperback and I absolutely loved One Day. It's one of my favourite books. So I just wanted to read more of his writing, I guess. I haven't read Us, which is his other one. So yeah, it's about a teenage boy, and then he meets this girl after like a really bad summer after his family's like breaking up, and then 20 years later I think he like retrospectively tells the story, which is cool. So yeah, got this one. Then I got, actually final part of the deal, and then I got two that weren't in the deal because I was like, I really want them. I got Underland by Robert McFarlane. Right, I basically only got this because of the cover, but like it's won a lot of prizes, and it basically discusses like the world underground. So it talks about Britain, Europe, and then the North. So he just talks about like burial, dark matter, invisible cities like underground in Paris, and then he's got like, I don't know, I'm a sucker for pictures, especially like in like a novel like this. It's not even a novel, I feel like it's non-fiction. I love how I said it's got pictures, and then when I try and find a picture I can't find any. Yeah, The Blue of Time. So like, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like I can't tell you much about it, but it's epic exploration of the Earth's underworld as they exist in myth, literature, memory, and the land itself. So not usually my thing, but I think it's absolutely stunning, and yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I'm not usually a non-fiction fan, so, well I am, but usually an audiobook, so yeah, very excited. Then I got Dominicana by Angie Cruz. This is on the shortlist for the Women's Prize for Fiction. And it's about a girl from Dominica, and this man proposes to her who's double her age and promises to take her to New York. So they get married, and then it's about her life in New York and like kind of what happens. Don't really know much about it. I don't like knowing too much about books before I go into them, but really cool sprayed pages. So, and I've wanted this book for a while. The final book I read, so I can cut this short, was Winter by Ali Smith. I read Autumn back in May, I believe, and I absolutely loved it. It was beautifully written. I learned so much about British pop art. I learned about Pauline Boty. It was just kind of set against a backdrop of Brexit, and I want to read Spring and Summer afterwards as well. But I heard mixed reviews about this, so I was kind of initially a bit like, oh, do I want to read it? But I want to read all of them at some point, so I just thought I'm gonna get it. And I'll probably read this soonish. She just has a really interesting way of writing, and I've only ever read Autumn, so I wanted to read more by her and make my own opinion about her novels. So yeah, I think that's it. I actually got a lot more books this month on eBay, but you know what? You'll just see when I read them. So yeah. Thanks for coming, guys. Really enjoyed doing this. I hope you like my new setup. It's not really been much of a setup, actually. I should have just gone like this. It would have looked a lot cooler. My boyfriend built this bookcase. Very nice. Yeah.